Hey everybody, this is Roger Marandino with GZ Lures and now GZ Lures and Tackle. And I want to share some really cool stuff with you. Cole and I have been talking a lot with Brian Crampton and Crampton Lures and his father Scott. You know, they're famous. You know, they're really works of art, and I fished with them for many years. I've never met Scott, but everybody just speaks really highly of the guy, which makes a lot of sense because I've spent a lot of time talking with Brian here over the last year, and I feel the same about him. But it's a great story. Cole touched on it. Scott Crampton passed away. I think it was 2020, and his son had learned from his dad and picked up the torch, which I think is awesome. So I was making some trips beginning of this year, Cape Verde for the World Cup, and also onto the Azores after that. And I just got on the phone with him and we talked fishing. And I said, hey, I'd love to try your stuff. So I'm gonna give you a bit of a report on both. So starting with, this is really kind of an old hog. You can see a little bit of the different color. Had a lot of success with this, I think all the way back to Ascension Island. And then definitely in Cape Verde, caught a really nice blue marlin a few years ago with Luis Roque on Smoker when he was running that. He's gonna be running it again next year. And then, and this is a hog, and he's making these again, which is really cool. And they're just works of art. I mean, they're shell-based, very hard, very easy to pull, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then one of my favorite lures, because it always produces, it's a quarter tonner. It's kind of a, if I were to call it, it's a chopped down tube. But salt and pepper, right and left rigger, you're just not gonna go wrong. We did really well probably 3 or 4 years ago in the World Cup, got a nice fish, not qualifying. And then last year was very rough, very tough fishing. And on the day of the World Cup, we got 2 fish, both in the 300-pound class. And it was very rough. I want to come back to that. Last year in Azores, we pulled this lure on the short left. And I'm going to talk about this. Fishing with Les Gallagher. This is his tube. Fishing with Les Gallagher on Brasilia. Les is one of the best captains of all time and one of my favorite people to fish with. He's very intellectual. He trolls that boat. It's pretty beamy. He trolls that boat 9.2 knots, so fairly fast, and it can be rough there, not super rough, but it's definitely not a flat, calm place. And so his first wake is pretty far back. So I pulled this on the short left, and on that day we caught 3 fish. I believe up to like 650, and they were all 450s, 500, and 600. So again, staying in the water. We'll come back to that. A few days later, with Marty Bates and Olaf on Chakra, we pulled this lure further back. This is a tube, I believe. Wait, hold on. No, it's a quarter tonner. We pulled this lure back on the left rigger, and we caught 3 fish on it. Again, just one of those lures that produces, and I'm just going to keep coming back to that. The previous year, 2021 in Azores, I got there really early. The fish had kind of just arrived. Zach Condi had caught a grander the day before, and we were fishing in the north, I believe, and we caught a fish. We released it really big, 750, 800 minimum weight on that fish, and this was on the left shore, and this is a hog. So I can just show some of the new stuff that Brian is making. And by the way, this hog was made by Scott Crampton, his father. So they're very similar. They're the same molds, but some of this stuff is just absolutely beautiful. And by the way, I dropped one of Brian's quarter tonners and left it for Marty Bates when I left the Azores, and the next day caught a 750. So again, they're consistently producing, as a lot of lures do, but I just want to speak about this. What's different about his lures, in my opinion, there's a beveled edge, around on the tube and on the quarter tonner, and really not so much at all on the hog. And I have one of his plunger baits here too. That's pretty flat, pretty traditional. But I believe in this little bevel. And, you know, we talked about making some prototypes. But all in all, the places that I fish with these lures have been fairly rough, and they stay in the spread. So in my opinion, you know, that's where we start. If they can't stay in the water, they're very difficult to hook up with fish. And also, they pull pretty light. You know, for the lure size, I love this lure and the hookup ratio for a tube and a lure that does a lot of wiggle. I've had, at least me, knock on wood, personal success with really good hookups. So again, Brian, we're very excited. Thank you, and welcome to GZ, to be working with GZ again, because as you know, GZ worked with your dad. Thank you and happy holidays.